We are in New York City and we are joined by the great Bobby Tambling. I couldn't be happier now, I'm absolutely buzzing, but I'm keeping a lid on it. Bobby, I've got a question for you. How did you feel when Frank Lampard nicked your 201?
Well, a little bit disappointed, obviously, to have a record for, 45, 46 years, but it couldn't have gone to a better guy. Like Frank, I'd picked Frank out 5 or 6 years earlier,
Really?
And told people that he was the most likely of anybody at Chelsea to break it at that time.
That's really interesting. So did you see it? Because obviously Frank Lampard was a midfielder, so not necessarily expected to break any sort of goal-scoring record.
No,
Did you
you're
see
right,
it early?
you're right. But I mean, he was scoring, starting to score 20 goals quite regularly, and you add it up and you think, well, 7 or 8 seasons he was young enough. That's going to add up.
Yeah.
And obviously once you start getting closer, you get more eager.
Get out of it, Frank. Get yourself an Achilles. Yeah. Do you know what? For me, as a sort of relatively young Chelsea fan, to be in your company is just an honour. And what I'd like to ask you, when you were playing at Chelsea in front of my granddad, what was it like? What was the stadium like? What were the fans like? What was the shed like? What was it like coming out of the Stamford Bridge tunnel at 3 o'clock on a Saturday when you were playing?
Well, the fans always have been magnificent at Stamford Bridge. Fantastic. Down to today, they're all the same. And what we realised was that because of the fans, they were giving us a dream life. It was a dream life. And you only have to feel the atmosphere here tonight and sort of get a taste of the atmosphere and imagine that now in a huge stadium.
Yeah, 50,000 or
whatever. You can imagine what it made you feel like.
I can imagine.
And like they would get you behind you, they'd cheer you on. They were fantastic.
Bobby, it's an absolute privilege to hear that, and it's fascinating for me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to give the mic to my friend Jack, purely because he's itching. He's basically shoehorned this. He wants to be within touching distance of Bobby Tambling, and it was meant to be a one-on-one, and he's hijacked it, and he's like, I've got to be here, so I'm going to step out. Bobby, thank you so much for talking to me. It's an absolute pleasure. Jack, over to you.
Thank you, Roy. Bobby, 202 goals for Chelsea. I used to watch the Story of Stamford Bridge video as a little boy over and over again, and there was one game that used to feature quite prominently in that video, and it was you scoring 5 goals. I don't know if you remember that game. It just makes me want to ask you, what was the best goal you ever scored for Chelsea?
Well, I always answer that as the first one.
From that game?
Well, not the first one in that game.
Oh, the first one you ever scored?
I ever scored, because that
Talk
sort of broke the ice for me in my very first game inside about 30 minutes.
On your debut?
And, it was just great, it made you feel good.
Yeah, I bet it did.
But probably it wasn't the best goal I ever scored, but the one that I scored at Wembley when we lost to Spurs 2-1.
Was that 61, was it?
67.
67.
And it wasn't enough to get us back in the game.
Yeah.
But from a small boy, I'd always dreamed about playing in the cup final.
Yeah, I bet.
And, the score. Well, the score, the winner, that's what the dream was like, But there was so much... so many goals meant so many different things to you, and we beat Liverpool 2-1 up at Anfield.
Right.
They were cup holders, and we beat them 2-1, and I scored the winner that day with my head. And we played so well, we actually deserved to go home as the winners. And as I say, so many goals mean so many things to you.
Yeah.
But something like the 5 at Villa, I actually retired with 70 minutes gone on the clock.
So you should have had about 6 or 7.
I had a knee twinge in the knee, and I didn't want to make it The game was safe. I didn't want to make it any worse.
Yeah. Did you
but
know you had a bad knee before you played?
No. And afterwards, I think long afterwards, you think you're only 2 goals short of the record, the league record, for the most goals scored in a league match. And you think, we were so dominant that day.
Yeah.
I think I could have scored goals on one leg.
Bobby, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you for the Chelsea Fans Channel. Thank you so much. A living legend right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.